Okay, instead of having an assignment on this, put the test up and the review solutions up, and I will go over the review solutions as to how to do them. A little different way of doing things. We'll see. I'm sure you guys won't mind. You won't have to turn in any assignments. You just have to turn the test in. But it's got to be good. All right. Okay, here's the review, and I'll put the solutions up. But we'll go through how to do them. You don't have to watch this, but you might want to watch and see how some of these are done. Okay. The first one is a degree problem. So we find the period by dividing 360 by the number b, we call it, which is 180 degrees. So we write down half cycle of 90 and quarter cycle of 45 degrees. There's also a shift, and the shift is found by setting the argument, in this case 2 theta minus 180 equal to 0, and then solving for theta. So the shift is 90 degrees. All right, this is a cosine, so I'll sketch a cosine parent graph up here. All right, and really all we need is that, and you can look at that, because the cosine starts at the high point. That is its high point. Now, since this is a negative, this one's going to start at its low point, and it's going to be an amplitude of 3. All right, so I said on the directions for the test that I put a scale on here, but it's not necessarily a quarter cycle, so you're going to have to add your own tick marks to make the scale correct. So we're going to need, for negative 90 to 360, something would happen here, but on the drive it's not bad. Okay, so if that's 90, so we're going to need 2 to the left, and we're going to need 8 to the right, tick marks. Okay, so I'm going to go to positive 90, and then down 3, and that is going to be the critical point. Okay. All right, and then it's every quarter cycle. And all of these need to be labeled, every point. Okay, so up here we have 0, 3, that is 45, 0. Critical point at 90, negative 3. 135, 0. 180, 3. 225, 0. 270, negative 3. 315, 0, and I forgot to put this point up here. This is 363, and of course over here we got negative 45, 0, and negative 90, negative 3. Okay, smooth curve. Okay, and then check by grapher. You should always check by grapher. First thing you do is check your mode. Okay, this is in degrees, we're good. Okay, negative 3 cosine. Oops. Let's change this. Make sure we clear everything out that's been there. Negative 3 cosine 2. Now, here it says theta. Theta or x, the same thing. Sometimes we say x, sometimes we say theta. But this is always going to be x on the grapher. Okay, negative 3 cosine 2x minus 180. And our window is from negative 90 to 360. Tick marks of 45. I forgot to change the y window. So we got to go at least, let's say, negative 4, negative 5 to positive 5. Let's do And sometimes you do have to change your, you screw up the window a little bit. Alright, put the trace on, tie a couple points. Let's see, 180 should be up at the max, which it is. 270 should be down at the min. It is. Everything's good. Alright, next problem is a radian problem. Again, first thing you do is find the period, and that's 2 pi divided by that number right there, so that makes it a pi. Always write down half cycle and quarter cycle. There's a shift. Set the argument to 0. Okay. So there's a shift of pi over 2. All right, now the parent graph for the sine of x looks like this. And this is just a sketch. We don't have to put all the points in, but that is the critical point. Sinusoidal axis on the way up. Now that's shifted pi over 2 to the right, so we have the critical point right there. Okay. All right, now this pi over 2, we need tick marks every pi over 4, and we're going negative pi over 2, so we need 2 to the left, and we're going to 2 pi. So that's pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. Okay, there's our tick marks. All right, so amplitude of 2, that means every quarter cycle. Smooth curve. Oops. Okay. And label all the points. Okay, start at negative pi over 2. Negative pi over 4. 2. 0, 0, you don't really have to label. Pi over 4, negative 2. Pi over 2, 0. 3 pi over 4, 2. And 5 pi over 4, we should write it like this and not, like 1.25 pi, which wouldn't be wrong, but this is the way we've been writing radians. Okay, now check by graph. I'm going to slide up. Okay, this one is a radian problem. Sine, oops. Okay, and we're window from negative pi over 2 to positive 2 pi. Tick marks, pi over 4. Now remember, when you put these numbers in, they're going to go to decimals as soon as you move it. Negative 5 to 5 is fine. Okay, everything looks good here too. All right then. Okay, the next one is a degree problem. So we find the period, which is 360 divided by 1/2. Now 360 divided by 1/2, you can do this on your calculator, that's 720. This is okay on the diagram or the document that I posted. Something happened when I printed this out. There and up top, I'm not sure what happened. So if the period 720 half cycle is 360 and quarter cycle is 180 degrees. The shift is found by setting the argument to 0. 1/2 theta plus 90 is equal to 0. So 1/2 theta is equal to negative 90. Divide both sides by 1/2. Theta is equal to negative 180 degrees. That's the shift. And you can do that on the calculator as well. All right, since this is a sine, the critical point is going to be at negative 180. Now, since the quarter cycle is 180, that is a quarter cycle. I don't need any more tick marks this time. And this is 180, 360, 540, 720, so I don't have to add any extra tick marks this time. So there is the critical point. Okay, and then from there, since it's a sine, goes up. All right, so quarter cycle, and the amplitude here is 2. Quarter cycle, there it is. Let's label these points. Negative 180, 0, 0, 2, 180, 0, 27, or pardon me, 360, negative 2, 540, 0, and 722. Okay. Now you should check by graph, or in the interest of time, I'm not going to do that. I don't want this to be too long. Again, you can fast forward if you have a problem with one of these. You can, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult. All right, this is a radian problem. Find the period. 2 pi divided by pi. That's the number right there, which is 2. Half cycle then is 1. Quarter cycle is 1/2. Just divide these down. All right. The shift, set that to 0. Pi x minus pi over 2 is equal to 0. Add pi over 2 to both sides. Pi x is equal to pi over 2. Divide both sides by pi. 1/2. The shift is 1/2. All right, remember, this is the parent graph of sine of x. But that's a negative. All right, now, negative sine of x is a reflection of this. So that's negative sine of x, and that's what we have here. So the critical point is going to be shifted 1/2 to the right. All right, now that's 1 I'm giving you. So, and quarter cycles are 1/2, so we need tick marks. Okay, so this is going from negative 1. So that's negative 1, and we're going to 4, so we need tick marks. And there's 4. All right, critical point is right here. And it's not on the way up like the sine, it's on the way down. And, even if you make a mistake on this, when you check by grapher, it'll show up. So the amplitude being 3, every quarter cycle. All right, and we label points. Now you can, these ones, since like 5, you could put 2.5 there. That's not going to hurt anything. But normally, for trigonometric stuff, we use improper fractions. Okay, there's our smooth curve. check by grapher. Okay, this is a radian-based problem. Make sure to change it to radian. It's on radians. Okay, and then -3 sine and window of -1 to 4, tick marks of 1/2, and -5 to 5 should be fine. Okay, and again, seeing how this is a negative, what that's going to do is it's going to take that sine graph and reflect it. So if you plot it incorrectly, you're going to have to erase it and do it again and check by grapher. Now, some of you may just check by grapher at the beginning. That's fine. Set it all up. Make sure you get the right window. You have to have the right window, and it has to be graphed over the interval that I give. All right, these last two problems, it says graph the sine graph from -90 to 360. Now, we've seen the sine graph more than once, and if you go back to your parent graphs that I made you construct, all you have to do is copy them for these problems. That's really, that is it. Okay, so I'm giving you the sine graph. You know, that's all we're doing is the sine graph goes up, and so it doesn't say here. I'm looking at the example that this axis here. This is saying if you put it to 1, you're gonna plot right there. So I would say use 1/2 here. Okay, so that would be 1. Okay, so then it would look like this. This is the sine graph. If that's 1/2 and that's 1. Now, you have to label the critical points, 90, 1, 180, 0, 0, 0. You have to -90, -1, 270, -1, 360, 0. All right. Now, here the instructions here say plot and label 3 additional points between -90 and 0. All right. Well, go to your parent graphs, and we had 3 additional points in here. And those points were -60 degrees, -square root of 3 over 2. And all you have, if you did your parent graphs, and most of you did, although some of you never handed it in, that's -45 degrees, -square root of 2 over 2. And this one is -30 degrees, -1/2. All right, I also say between 270 and 360. Well, we want 3 more points up here, and we know 3. And again, if you go to your parent graph, you'll find these. You can also go to the unit circle to get them. Okay, this one is 300, -square root of 3 over 2. This one right here is 340, or 315, I should say, -square root of 2 over 2. And this one is 330, -1/2. And you should check by grapher. Look at your parent graphs. All right, this is cosine between -pi over 2 and 2 pi. Again, it's a parent graph. I'm going to use the cosine parent graph is at a high point at the axis, and -pi over 2, and we use a scale of 1/2 again. All right, again, we label 0, 1, pi over 2, 0, pi -1, 3 pi over 2, 0, 2 pi, 1, and -pi over 2, 0. Okay, I'm asking for points between pi over 2 and pi. That's in here. 3 additional points. we know these 3 points and they're on your parent graph. If you did the parent graph, you should have no problem doing this, okay? And you can also get them off of the unit circle if you need to. That point is 2 pi over 3, negative 1/2. This one is 3 pi over 4, negative square root of 2 over 2. And this one is 5 pi over 6, comma, negative square root of 3 over 2. All right, I asked for points between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi. That's along in here. 3 additional points. Okay, this one is 5 pi over 3, 1/2. This one is 7 pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2. And this last one is 11 pi over 6, square root of 3 over 2. Okay, and you should check that by Grapher. All right, again, I'm a little bit off here. All of these should be done. You have 2 days to do this. You can go over every one of them. I mean, they're very similar to the test problems are very similar to the review problems. I gave you the review solutions. I gave you a video as to how to do the review step by step. You have plenty of time to do this over 2 days. Okay. Well, good luck.